Shabbat Shalom. So sometimes before we offer a teaching or after we say prayers, we say, "May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Adonai, my rock and my redeemer." Tomorrow evening, the Jewish community observes the holiday of Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which commemorates all of the calamities that have befallen the Jewish people, including the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem. It is customary to fast and to read from the book of Lamentations. This is a day of mourning and deep reflection. Some Jews extend this mourning practice to the entire 3 weeks leading up to Tisha B'Av, gradually building in intensity. Yet for many Reform Jews, Tisha B'Av is not widely observed. Our movement has historically rejected the notion of exile as a theological centerpiece, along with the idea of rebuilding a centralized temple in Jerusalem. In traditional Jewish thought, exile, galut, is more than just a physical state. It's a defining spiritual and communal reality. From the Babylonian exile after the destruction of the first temple to the dispersion of the Jews across the globe, exile has shaped the Jewish memory and conscience. But for Reform American Jews and others in the diaspora, this narrative can feel distant. Most of us do not experience Jewish life in America as exile. I am certain that very few of us in this sanctuary tonight are planning to make Aliyah, to relocate permanently to the land of Israel. So how then can this holiday speak to us? I believe that if we reinterpret exile not as a physical banishment, but as a moral and spiritual dislocation, Tisha B'Av can take on a new meaning. Consider for just a moment. If exile means being distant not from a physical land, but from our deepest Jewish values of justice, compassion, and communal responsibility, then we are all, in some way, still in exile. And we all have an opportunity and responsibility to return. This is the prophetic call, to return to our values, to repair what is broken, to seek justice in our world, which is also essential to Reform Jewish thought. Professor Susanna Heschel, daughter of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, reminds us of the prophetic urgency. She teaches a text from the prophet Jeremiah. They know no bounds in the deeds of wickedness. They judge not with justice the cause of the fatherless, the rights of the needy. Shall I not punish them for these things, says Adonai? And shall I not avenge myself on a nation such as this? In the words of the prophet, the ultimate expression of God is not wisdom or might, but justice. Isaiah proclaims, Zion shall be redeemed by justice, and those who repent by righteousness. Justice is the means of our redemption. It's the way we honor our covenant with God. And so Isaiah asks a piercing question. Can we abandon despair and find inner resources to respond when God asks, who will speak for me? Who will remember the covenant of peace and compassion? This question brings us to our present moment, a time of great pain and complexity. We are witnessing a crisis in Israel and in Gaza. 50 hostages still remain, and the humanitarian situation in Gaza is devastating. I'm going to offer an important caveat as we enter into this part of my teaching. There is much we do not know. The realities on the ground are complex, challenging, and rapidly changing. We must not get caught up in the back and forth of Hamas's propaganda, Israeli statements, and the news media. Here is what I do know. Israelis have suffered an unimaginable trauma on and after October 7th, 2023. And Palestinians in Gaza also have suffered and are hungry. Both realities are true. And Jewish tradition is clear. When someone says they are hungry, we must feed them. In the recent statement released by the leaders of the Union for Reform Judaism, it said, Hamas has repeatedly demonstrated its willingness to sacrifice the Palestinian people in its pursuit of Israel's destruction. But Israel must not sacrifice its own moral standing in return. What does it mean then to uphold justice? Not in theory, but in practice. How do we navigate our deep commitment and love to Israel with our equally sacred responsibility to protect all human life? So we're left with this sacred tension. How do we continue to express our love and support of Israel and Israelis and many Jews around the world's call for justice and compassion? We must heed the words of Israeli Reform rabbi and member of Knesset, Gilad Kariv, who shared the following urgently needed actions on the floor of the Israeli Knesset. To prevent the alarming number of civilian deaths in and around the food and humanitarian aid distribution sites. Opening a significant number of food distribution centers at various locations across the Gaza Strip. A large-scale entry of infant formula and ensuring safe delivery to both functioning medical centers and the few remaining international aid facilities. Establishing secure methods, potentially through cooperation with regional countries, for delivering food supplies to aid organizations and international agencies. Resuming sufficient water supply to population centers in Gaza in accordance with international health standards, and authorizing and assisting in the supply of medications, the establishment of field hospitals operated by the remaining Palestinian medical staff, by foreign governments, and by international agencies, especially in areas where hospitals have ceased functioning. Rabbi Kariv's urgent list is more than just a set of policy proposals. It's a reflection on Jewish moral courage in action. His words remind us that justice must be practiced not only in our sermons or in our prayers, but through real, life-saving decisions. These actions call upon the Israeli government and its leaders, yes, but they also call upon each of us. Because if we are truly to return from exile, moral or spiritual, we must be part of building a world that reflects our values. And that brings us to this season. As we approach the High Holy Days, just 8 weeks away, the season of Teshuvah, of return, these are the questions that should guide us. Just as we mourn what has been lost on Tisha B'Av, we are also preparing ourselves to rebuild, not a physical temple, but a world rooted in compassion, equity, and truth. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be so.